Hello, my name is Mason Harris. I'm a youth pastor in Arkansas. I'm super excited to be a part of Dot Church. The topic that I want to talk about is fake Christianity, but probably not in the way you think. Every church I went to growing up, and in every denomination, it was laced with these kinds of Christians who were often pretending to have it all together and pretending to be happy. I don't want to speak negatively about these people because I'm actually pretty sure they thought they were doing the right thing. They thought they were putting aside the messy parts of life in favor of showing joy, and they wanted to celebrate, the new life that Jesus had given them. And that's a great thing. The issue with it, and the thing I want to talk about, is church, or a community of Jesus followers. Life in the kingdom was always meant to encompass every part of life, not just the happy parts. I grew up learning to play music on stage at church, and one of the first lessons I learned was don't let the crowd know. If you were in a bad mood, don't let the crowd know. If you and another worship team member got in a fight right before service, don't let the crowd know. If you were feeling distant from God and quitting church altogether, don't let the crowd know. I got really good at not letting the crowd know, aka faking it. I don't know what tradition or denominations you guys come from, but in my tradition there was a lot of hand raising and shouting and emotion when you worshiped. So I learned to fake all of it because honestly, more often than not, I did not want to be there. So more often than not, I was faking it. There is an ever-growing belief in Christianity today, specifically in our corner of the world, that your spiritual life is all about emotion. We believe that there are some emotions that God approves of and expects of us, and that there are some other emotions that God doesn't like. I don't know if anyone would say this out loud, but I know plenty of people who operate as if this is true. When you think you have to be positive all the time and happy all the time to be a good Christian, you, one, don't know what to do with yourself when you aren't happy, and two, you think you have to force yourself to be happy. This is what I mean when I say we're faking it. A pastor I love, John Mark Comer, said this once: "You can't control your emotions. Influence them, absolutely, but you will never have total control over your emotions. You're not supposed to." At first, I didn't even agree with him, actually, because I still thought you were supposed to control your emotions. That's what discipleship is. That's what Christianity is all about, learning to control your emotions. You can't be a sad Christian. That's an oxymoron, but Christians have to be happy. Your emotion is a reaction to the world around you. When something happens to you, emotions arise in you. And then, of course, you have a say in what you do with those emotions. In his letter to the Ephesians, Paul wrote, "Be angry and do not sin." This means anger, the emotion itself, is not the sin. And in Matthew chapter 5, when Jesus begins his Sermon on the Mountainside, we often think he says, "Do not get angry." But it just simply doesn't say that, which is good, because Jesus goes on to get angry himself, showing us that there's a distinction between a righteous kind of anger, the anger you have for the right reasons, against injustice and oppression, and the anger that he compares to murder. Anger is okay. It's why you're angry and what you do in your anger that matters. The same goes for all emotion. Anger is just one example. When you're angry or upset, exhausted with life, anxious, don't just ignore those emotions. They're trying to tell you something. Jesus was all about getting to the root of the problem, not suppressing it. And to do that, you have to be real with yourself. To fake one emotion is to suppress another. To fake being happy is to suppress whatever emotion you're actually feeling. In psychology, there's this theory of hard world and soft world. When you're a kid growing up thinking life is all about ice cream and cartoons, you live in a soft world, right? Parents build a soft, padded place for their kids to play and grow up so they don't have to worry about the hard-hitting life issues. But the idea is that eventually, when you do grow up, the world slowly becomes demystified to you, and you begin to see the hard world for what it really is, the real world. You find out Santa isn't real and your parents aren't perfect. The issue is that many of us still try to create a soft world for ourselves. We nestle into our routines and we only hang out with people that share our opinions. We only watch things we agree with, and we mainly just want to be entertained. And that's really easy to do in a Western society, the United States. We live in a very unique point in history where most people in the Western world have never felt the sensation of true hunger. We've got it easy. We live in a soft world. In my experience, we've put church, or maybe even God himself, into the soft world box. We've labeled Christianity as a soft world item. So when we experience the hard world breaking through, bills aren't getting paid, a family member passes, someone you know gets cheated on, it doesn't even cross our minds to come to God about it. At least that's true for me. When the hard world demands my attention and I have to leave my soft world box, I end up leaving Jesus behind in it. I don't have a muscle memory kind of response to pray when bad things are happening. Like prayer, talking to the God who made me, loves me, and died for me. It doesn't even cross my mind. I forget about my church community, I forget about Jesus, and I just try to handle the hard world life situations on my own. In Matthew chapter 9, verses 11 and 12, when asked why he hung out with tax collectors and sinners so much, Jesus responded, "It's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick." The healthy that Jesus is referring to are the people who pretend to have life figured out, the ones who claim to be in right relationship with God and with everyone around them. Repeatedly throughout his 3-year ministry, Jesus turned away the people who pretended to have it all together, these so-called healthy people, because he knew they were only pretending to have it all together. For some reason, so many of us try to put on an act and pretend to be happy and like life is all good for us. But Jesus didn't come to be with those who had it all together. He turned those people away. Jesus came for the outcasts, the people who obviously did not have it all together. The blind, the deaf, the disabled, the traitors, the prostitutes, the sick. These are the ones who need a doctor. I'm not saying we should try to be these messed up people. I'm saying we already are these messed up people. That's the trick to the whole thing. There's no one who actually has it all together except for Jesus himself. So when people presented themselves as having it all together, Jesus turned them away because he could see through their charade. None of us have life figured out. Our lives are messy. Some of us struggle with anger issues, others depression, anxiety, addictions. A lot of us are just straight up selfish. A lot of us are lonely. Yet we never tell anyone. We keep it a secret and we hide it all behind a smile. In Matthew chapter 6, Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, where he described how life in the kingdom of God should look, he told his followers to avoid being like the type of people who give loudly and pray loudly and purposefully look sad and disheveled when they fast. Jesus called those people hypocrites, or the word in Greek is hypokrites, which is pretty easy to remember. As negative as that word sounds today, in Jesus' day, it literally just meant actor. Jesus was calling those people actors, pretenders, fakes. Jesus wants his followers to stop being pretenders and to stop faking whatever it is they're faking, whether they're faking generosity or piety. Being fake has no place within the kingdom of heaven in any capacity. Jesus brought heaven to earth, and the Sermon on the Mount was Jesus establishing the culture of the kingdom. If you want to join this thing, it's completely free to you. There's nothing you have to do to be a citizen in this kingdom. But once you're in, there are some cultural norms you'll need to begin getting used to. In this kingdom, we are real with each other. We are vulnerable. We don't fake anything. We all admit that we're messed up people and that we make mistakes. When someone admits these things to us, we lovingly accept them and forgive them and help to train them in the ways of Jesus and right living, keeping them accountable and being there for them when they need it. And one day, when you fall, they will be there for you. This is the beautiful cycle of vulnerability, forgiveness, and change. My point is we need to be real. Our God isn't just the God of happiness and good times. He's the God of reality. He is our God on the best days and the absolute worst days of our entire lives. because he is God over all reality, over both the hard world and the soft world. I'm supposed to love my neighbor, but how can I do that if I don't even know them, if they only ever show me a mask or a facade? And how can they ever know me or be there for me in the hard times if I always pretend that life is good? So, can we please be real with each other?